Fiendsmith has made its mark at the NAWCQ, but the scariest deck of the big three is Tempai. What's going on, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have the Tempai deck that has some amazing tools thanks to info. This deck is all the proof you need. You don't need to pick up the Fiendsmith cards. Not only are we going to go through the card by card and show exactly what I'm playing and why I'm playing it, but stick around to the end because we'll showcase some of the new one card combos this deck has. But as always, if you haven't already, go grab yourself a cup of coffee or something. That way you guys can sit down and tune in. So even though Snake Eyes and Yubel look to be very dominant this format, Tempai is by far the scariest one to have to run up against. With the new support, this deck has gotten even more consistent, but for some of the standard stuff, we have 3 Pydra, 3 Shundra, and 2 Fadra. This is the same ratio I ran in the last profile I did, and if you're looking for a more in-depth guide on what exactly those cards do, make sure you check that video out after this. There is some debate. If you wanted more space, you could cut Fadra to 1, or I've even seen players cut Pydra to 2. The deck is insanely more consistent, so you definitely have the room to do so. Thanks to Genroku, essentially a quick effect lone fire that also happens to be a poplar for the deck. Not only do we have more ways to navigate around boards, but we have more one card combos in the mix as well. As mentioned, Genroku acts like a poplar. When it's added to hand, you can summon it to the field, and you also have the option to make it a level 4. If you do summon it to the field with its in-hand effect, it must become a tuner, but that's okay because it does set up a bunch of synchro plays. This also helps us with our going first combos, oddly enough, making it to where even if your opponent made you go first, you have some great options now. And again, I have seen players cut Genroku to 1, but for me, I want to make sure I always have one in the deck just in case I need to search it. It's so great that this deck has a new extender to keep playing. Another tool that I am playing is one of the new cards, Dora Dora. This essentially is a Stratos for any of our fire dragons. I've seen players play 3, and I've seen players play 0, so it's totally up to you. But for me, since it is searchable with Sengin Kaiman, I like having the option at least having one in the deck in case I need it. The card is insanely strong, and again, is a 1-card OTK. So if you wanted to run multiples, you could definitely cut down on Pydra or Fadra, but for me, again, I just like having access to one in the deck just in case I need it. But then after that, for the supporting spells, of course, 3 Sengin Kaiman, we mentioned the Rhoda for the deck, 3 Sengin Summoning, the insane card that protects all your fire monsters in the main phase 1, plus being able to search any of your Tenpais from your deck to your hand at the cost of discarding a card, obviously makes for an insane consistency boost for the deck, which is why alongside it, we are also running the Terraforming, making it so consistent to not only get access to your 1-card combos, but also being able to increase the likelihood of seeing your 2-card combos, which enable stuff like an early Black Rose Dragon or even going into Transcendent Dragon before even entering the battle phase. Last consistency card I am playing is 3 Prosperity. I've seen players play 0. I've even seen people cut it to 2. I'm already playing 19 non-engine cards, so if you wanted to fit more non-engine in, I definitely think you could cut back on this card, but this deck can OTK through Prosperity, so for that reason, I've definitely decided to max it out. Again, make sure you stick around to the end, that way you guys can see some of the combos these new cards offer. But for the non-engine in the deck, I'm running 3 copies of Dimensional Shifter, obviously so good in this format. By itself, it can skip the turn of so many different decks, and while some others can build a board even through Shifter, the power of that board is going to be so weakened that being able to OTK through it shouldn't be a problem for this deck. I really feel like hand traps are so important in this format, and I'm running a lot of high impact ones. In addition, I'm running 3 Droll and 3 Nibiru. Obviously, Nibiru's a powerhouse, especially when you pair it with the low impact hand traps. Honestly, it pairs well with any of the hand traps that we are playing, but of course we're playing 3 copies of Ash and Imperm as well. This makes for 15 hand traps, and you have a couple of options on what you want to do with the last 4 slots. Some people will run board breakers like Lightning Storm or Forbidden Droplet. For me, I find that Droplet at time can conflict with Shifter, so that can be a little awkward. Of course, the argument is you can always just pitch it with Sengin Summoning if that is the case, so I definitely think it's a solid option. Since I'm playing Nibiru, I don't really like playing Lightning Storm because I will have a monster on the field. Also, there are times where I am actively trying to play around Droll and Lockbird, so I'll activate Sengin Kaiman in the draw phase to search our Genroku. Just like Poplar, it'll summon itself in the draw phase, and of course we can tribute it off, then start searching everything we need in the draw phase. Again, this puts a body on the field in the process, so it can be a little awkward with Lightning Storm. So for me, if I were going to play another board wipe card, I actually think Raigeki would be the way I would go. But again, if you change the tech cards you're playing, then Lightning Storm is definitely a solid card this format. But another reason I'm not playing Lightning Storm is I'm playing a a Bystial package. I'm playing 2 Druid's Worm, 1 Magnamut, and 1 Baldrake. Seems a bit excessive, but these cards are so insane against all the Fiendsmith cards right now. Plus, these are level 6 bodies that let you go into Transcendent Dragon early, making sure your opponent cannot do anything once you enter the battle phase. Obviously, you're always going to be playing Magnamut because it can search your 1-card combos in the deck as well, but added interruptions, added removal, and of course synergy with making your level 10 synchros really puts this engine over the top. But again, test it out yourself. You could cut these cards if you wanted to for something like Forbidden Droplet, but for me, I've personally been loving how this deck has been testing, so make sure you try it out yourself. But if you're a big fan of the Tempai archetype, make sure you check out this amazing gear from my partners over at CODEE. Here I have their new 2-player cloth Tempai playmat. As you can see, this first side features Pydra, but if you love scaring your opponent with OTKs, the other side has the Trident Dragon. These mats come in 4 different color schemes and they all look beautiful and the fabric feels amazing. And if you want to get your hands on one of these mats, make sure you check out the link down below. These are brand new releases and they just dropped on the website. Plus they have a bunch of other products to choose from as well, so make sure you guys go check them out. And make sure you use my code COFFEE10 at checkout. Not only will it save you 10% at checkout, but a portion of that purchase comes back to the channel and it helps me make content for you. But now, hopping into the extra deck for some of the standard stuff, of course we still have the Trident Dragon, the Transcendent Dragon, and then I'm running 2 copies of Bident Dragon. Not much to explain here, very standard for the deck. I'm still running the 1 Odd Eyes Meteor Burst. Again, another way to help play around things in the battle phase. It also has the protection for the field spell because it's a fire dragon, but of course, speaking of fire dragons, we also have Black Rose. There really are so many cards that let you Black Rose your opponent and then follow up with another 1-card combo to OTK. In addition, I am still playing the 1 Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. I've been debating about cutting this, but I do find at times the bounce definitely comes up. And the last synchro I'm playing is the 1 Samurai Destroyer because Yobel is running around everywhere and you want to make sure you have something in your extra deck. Another option would be something like the Time Lord here. It's a very good card as well and another option you should consider. Destroyer is a level 7, so it's a little bit easier to make. But like I mentioned, that's about all the synchros that we're opting to run. But for the links, we're still running the Striker Dragon. That way we have an easy link monster to go into to be able to get our banish off with our SP Little Knight effect. This doesn't come up all the time, but there are a lot of games that you can't OTK your opponent. So being able to have this option in the extra deck is very nice, not only removing some of the follow-up from the grave, but it's another interruption on your opponent's turn. Of course, our main interruption when building a board is Seals. Seals Pass is so crazy, and while that has become a joke over the years, when you back it up with all the hand traps we have in this deck, plus thanks to Genroku, you can add another layer of interruption on top of it. Seals Pass really does feel a lot better when backed up with all the non-engine that we're playing as well. But after that, it's our OTK line. We have Hida, we have Princess, we have our Salamangrate, and of course the Zealantis for our Zealantis OTK. In order for the deck to do it, you need access to 4 bodies, and since there's so much fire running around in the format, thanks to Hida, really it makes it to where now you'll only need 3 bodies to be able to OTK, but this is primarily there because your opponent will try to hit you with something like D-Barrier, and now that Snake Eyes can pull that card out of the deck with Beatrice, it's definitely an option you want to have access to in your extra deck. But that's it for the deck. Now let's go over some combos. So we're going to try to zip through this really quick and show you some of the OTKs this deck can do. Thanks to info, Genroku again is a 1-card OTK, while also giving you all kinds of different options when playing through a board as well, depending on what else you have in hand. It also helps with making a board when you go first, which we'll showcase later. But obviously for this combo, you'll normal summon Genroku and you'll use its effect to summon one from deck. Obviously, Shundra by itself is an OTK, so you could just summon this, start swinging, bringing out bodies. That'll get you Pydra, which gets you Sangin Kaiman. Again, a combo that I went over in the last video, so check that out if you want to see that. But in the case where they had a body that is bigger than Shundra, one thing that you can do instead is rather than going into Shundra, now you can bring out Pydra and use its effect to search. You can grab either the Kaiman or the Sangin Summoning, depending if you have a card to discard or not. For this example, we'll go ahead and use the Sangin Summoning. Here, we'll add that Shundra rather than summoning it, and then of course we have to discard a card in the process, but afterwards we can activate its effect to summon itself to the field. Now you can protect yourself from battle damage, and then when you attack with a Shundra, in damage step, its effect will activate. Fadra will hit the field, and now that Fadra's on the field in damage step, even if the monster you battled was bigger, not only do you take no battle damage, but it's protected from battle because it's on the field. Of course, after that, the Fadra will bring back the Genroku, and again, you have all the names in circulation. There's 100 ways you can OTK from here. If they did have something that was pretty big, now you can quick effect Synchro. We'll go into our Bident, and then Bident can bring back the Chundra. Now you can swing over that big monster, and if they have something that you can run over with the Pydra, then you can go ahead and and do so, but if not, you can attack to get the declaration count up, and then quick effect synchro. We'll go into Transcendent Dragon, also changing everything into attack position to get in more damage. Again, you can swing over another big guy with 3,000, and we've attacked enough time so we can bring back that Biden from the grave, and once again swing over another monster. By now we should be getting in some damage, and then of course we can quick effect sync with the Fadra. Seems a bit excessive, but now you can go into Trident Dragon, destroy these two cards. The field spell will activate, bringing the Trident Dragon up to 6,000. That'll give you another 18,000 damage direct, and then of course you can bring this back from the grave and attack for another 3,000. Seems a bit excessive, but again, you do play Prosperity, so sometimes you do need to whale out all that damage. But now for another one card combo, again, now we can do it with our Dora Dora. Again, this is searchable with Sangin Kaiman if you wanted to do this play, but don't forget the last combo we did can also be obtained in the draw phase. You can activate Sangin Kaiman, add Genroku, it summons itself, tribute it off, grab the Pydra, and then the Pydra will set the field spell, and then now you can enter main phase 1. You'll activate it, you'll get a search. Again, you'll add the Chandra and discard a card, and this is the same combo as last time, except for you played around Droll and Lock Bird because you did most of it in the draw phase. But again, just to showcase the power of Dora Dora, we will normal summon it and use its effect to search, and of course we're going to add that Genroku and activate its effect to summon itself from hand. This is now a level 4 tuner, so if you'd like, you can go ahead and synchro them off. There really is a bunch of options. It depends on what else is in your hand, but on Summon Biden, we'll bring back the Genroku, and then of course we can either start battling, or we can go ahead and use the effect to summon from deck. Again, if we were going straight to battle, we can go into Chandra and continue to OTK, but if you're doing it in main phase 1, you can go ahead and go into Pydra and use its effect to search. We'll grab Sangin, summoning, setting it face down, and then activating it, and then we'll use its effect to search. We'll grab Chandra and then discard a card, and now you have a level 10 synchro you can go into. Transcendent Dragon will hit the field, locking your opponent out of effects in the battle phase, and now we can summon Chandra from the hand and proceed to OTK. Again, you can swing for 3k, and then a Chandra can attack and bring one out from the deck. Now you can go into Fadra, which brings out Pydra. Again, if you needed to do that to play around a monster that is bigger than your Chandra, then this works as well. Again, you can get your attack count up, or you can just start quick synchroing. There's so many ways to get extra damage. It's pretty crazy how quickly this deck can OTK out of nowhere. Now, really quickly, I just wanted to show going first. Now you have a lot of one-card combos that put up a pretty decent board, especially when they're backed up with hand traps. In this case, we have a Pydra. Again, this could have been with Dora Dora, Sangin Kaiman, the field spell. At the end of the day, we're just trying to search our Genroku. So in this case, we'll normal summon the Pydra on the amazing Pydra mat. Again, it's up to you which one you add, depending if you want the protection on the field for follow-up, or you don't want to discard a card. Maybe you have a bunch of hand traps that you want to save since you're going first. So we'll activate the Kaiman to add Genroku, which will then activate to summon itself as a level 4 tuner. It's up to you what you want to do. I noticed a lot of players like getting Biden Dragon in the grave early. That way they know when the turn gets passed back to them, they have that resource in the grave to pull out in case they need it. As mentioned, it's now a level 4 tuner, so you can go ahead and synchro these off. You can make Biden, which can then bring back the Genroku, and now we can use its effect, summoning one from the deck. We'll bring out the Fadra, which can then bring out the Genroku again, and now we can take our 2 dragons and go into our seals. Seals pass, it sounds hilarious, but this is so much better now that we have Genroku on our opponent's turn as well. Obviously, seals has always been able to get us follow-up, whether it's bringing out Magnamut or bringing out a Pydra. That way we can go ahead and search one of our Sangin cards. But now that we have this Genroku on the field, we can also synchro summon on our opponent's turn if they enter the battle. Of course, you'll bounce a card with seals, and its effect will summon out Pydra after, allowing you to have follow-up in the form of one of your spells. But now at any time, you contribute off this Genroku, go into a Chandra. That way, once you're in the battle phase, you can quick effect synchro, and whether you decide to bounce a card with Moonlight or wipe the field with Black Rose, the sky's the limit with all the options you have. And while it might not seem like most, especially compared to the decks we have right now, when you back it up with all the hand traps that this deck has, it makes it hard for any deck to be able to have to play through that, especially since you're just going to OTK on the next turn. Thanks to Genroku, all these combos are so easy to do, whether it's Dora Dora, Sangin Kaiman, Sangin Summoning, Pydra. There's so many one-card combos in this deck that really enable you to OTK or build a board in the process. But test this deck out yourself. It is so much fun to play. Trust me, why pick up Fiendsmith cards when you could play this deck? So that's going to wrap things up for today's video. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. Tempai really is one of the scariest decks this format. No matter what deck you're playing, nobody wants to sit in front of it. Again, if you're a big Tempai fan, make sure you guys go check out the link below to Smart TCG. These mats are so awesome. And speaking of of which, if you made it this far in the video, if you happen to be going to YCS Sacramento, I will be giving away some of these playmats. So if you happen to see me at the event, ask me about the mat, and I might have some still on me. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and here's hoping to see you on the next one. Peace.